Good morning. We'll call this executive committee meeting for December the 14th to order. The chaplain, will you give us the invocation?
Before we go to prayer, there's a couple prayer concerns we have. Delegate Jimmy Malone is now in hospice care. His cancer came back, and he's decided not to continue on treatments. Also, Chaplain Chuck Ward's father passed away, so he's dealing with that. Let's go to prayer. Almighty God, as we enter in this season of celebration for your delivering of your Son, Jesus, for us, Father, we just thank you for that. We thank you for this time, fellowship, and enjoy holidays. Father, we ask you to be with us today as we do the business of the association, Father, for your guidance and wisdom in doing the business for the best for the fire service in the state of Maryland. Father, we ask in your Son's name. Amen. To the flag.
From President Skip Perry and then President Fitzgerald from Berlin.
There we go. Now we're live at 5. I'd like to welcome you all here today. Particularly would like to issue thanks to the fire department. They've been excellent in helping us with setting up for this and for last night for the meet and greet. Also, one quick announcement. Mr. Chairman, can I do my announcement before you get to business? A couple of months ago, and it had to for some personal problems. We had a gentleman who filled in for him in that time frame. It's my exceptional pleasure to announce that. Are we still working? Can you hear me now? What? Beautiful start. Yeah. Anyway, that's my decision. Great.
For that, how about that? I'm Dave Fitzgerald, I'm president of the Fire Company. We're welcome you all here. Glad to have you executive committee, all the members, and guests. Our firehouse is your firehouse, is what I like to say. This is the need to remember to run it. You all have restrooms outside. Hopefully we won't have a fire alarm. Again, go out in the parking lot or go out the steps here. Hopefully you won't need anything else, AEDs or in all the vehicles down driving off the seat, but we won't need one of them either. Still want to make one announcement. Our 1924 Max house is downstairs in the engine bay. So get out of the elevator and or the steps steep. Go right straight through. All Max is there on December 9th of this past Monday. That was 100 years of the date of delivery of that truck in 1924. So out of the trailer, you look at it. The back step, we encourage you. Had that as ownership and had it restored a couple of times. So we welcome you to do that. Got the breakfast up there. We'll make sure water and snacks are out all day. We've got a catering lunch coming in, and then tomorrow morning breakfast. We may have some additional hot breakfast, and then we'll have some stuff for lunch. If the heat goes to lunch tomorrow, we'll have some stuff for that. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We appreciate your hospitality. Then you're up for guests and officers.
Under officers, we have President Perry, First Vice President Charlie Simpson, Second Vice President myself, Secretary Doyle Cox, Assistant Secretary Jonathan Date, Assistant Secretary Richard Coons, Financial Secretary Mitch Vogt, Chief Chaplain John Long, Attorney Mike Farlow, Assistant Parliamentarian Kenneth Bush, Assistant Parliamentarian Harvard Woods, Executive Director Kate Lovelace, and Executive Assistant Lynn Hawkins. In the Executive Committee, we have Chairman Roger Steger, Vice Chairman Mark Bilger, Vice Chairman Malcolm Faust, Committee Member Ron Block, Committee Member Steve Cox, Committee Member Timothy Dayton, Committee Member Dale Fishak, Committee Member Charles Chip Jewell, Committee Member Lee Lutz, Committee Member Douglas Simpkins, sorry. How did I mess your name up? That's right. Committee Member Randy Smith, Committee Member Buddy Sutton, ex officio member Eric Smothers. Okay. Past presidents, we have Mr. 1987, 1988, Mr. Bob Cumberland. 2000, 2001, we have Roger Steger.
Thank you.
2002, 2003, Mr. Gene Worthington. 2004, 2005, Jacobs. Let's see. 2008, 2009. 2010, 2011, we have Bull Cox. 2011, 2012, Dave Lewis. 2017, 2018, Mark Bilger. 2019, 2020, man, I may mess this last name up, Mike Faust.
You sure you got that right?
And 2023, 2024, Mr. Eric. Under trustees, we have Chairman Jeff Clemens. And under the partners, at Maryland Fire and Rescue Institute, Director Mike Cox Jr. We have Rebecca Gilmore from Shock Trauma. From MSP Aviation Command, First Sergeant Larson. MDEM, we have Bill Hildebrand. This might be his last time as MDEM, isn't it, Mr. Bill? Congratulations on your retirement.
You want a podium over there? I saw one somewhere, but you might want to put that thing here. Three times.
Went through all that and I don't have any more, so.
Ladies present.
Oh, yeah. Okay, the officers of the Ladies Auxiliary, we have President Sherry Seffen, Senior Vice President Joan Kramer, Junior Vice President Holly Trego, Financial Secretary Kay Trego, Chaplain Samantha Butterfield, Guard Kim Shelton, and Co-Chair Ms. Sharon Worthington. Ms. Sherry will have the past president. That's all I.
Here, put it in. And we'd like to recognize the president of Wycombe County Fire, Ms. Howell. Thank you for coming. I know it. I can't help that part. Holly, yes. Miss Holly. She's back there. Okay. We're going to spend another 1,000. We'll get it working by tomorrow. All right. Before we get into the president's reports, I'd like to call on Executive Committee member Lee Lutz. He would like to speak with us for a few minutes this morning.
I'm not going to try and use the microphone. It's in and out. I can barely hear every other word. But my name is Lee Lutz. For those of you who don't know, I'm the executive committee member for Prince County. Today, I'm going to declare my commitment to the office of Maryland State Fire. I'm a life member of the president of the Glendale Fire Association. I'm past president. Calls for the FA, and I've been serving this time since about 2018. So I feel like an asset to the MSFA as I move forward. I thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I want to apologize. For some reason, my report didn't upload to the reports, but I will get it when I get back home. I had functions throughout the state. I went to Rocky Ridge anniversary. I myself and Vice Chairman of the Executive Committee, Malcolm Faust, we've traveled. We spent all day going to different fire departments, and we ended up in Smith Island with their association meeting. It's been a real trip. This past week I had 9, 4 of which were on Tuesday. So it's been very exciting for the first 6 months of my term. So that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to play a Dave Fitzgerald here. I won't even try that microphone, so President Fitzgerald did the right thing. I think everybody can hear me. I usually talk loud enough. I request that it is electronically on the file for the MSFA Executive Committee report. Few things bring up, and first, I'd like to thank you both of our hosts today, President Fitzgerald. It's always a good opportunity to come here, as they've always got something interesting, and particularly in this time of year, downtown. So thanks to taking off long. Yeah, it's been a time since August. And there's meetings and we'll try it now. Hopefully it won't be cutting out, right? Okay, so cutting out. A lot of things happened. That interesting things that took place. One was I'd like to thank the County Volunteer Fire and EMS Association for their hospitality. The Honor Guard had a presentation. During that presentation, they presented the Maryland State Firefighters Association with a certificate of appreciation. For those that don't know, the Volunteer Fire and EMS Honor Guard is very active with the association, not only at the also at the Maryland Fire Rescue Foundation services in May. So thank you, and I'll present this certificate of appreciation to the President. And thank you. Had an interesting meeting up in Allegheny, Garrett, last week, and a lot of great activity going on up there. And we're trying to continue to work with them, keeping that as active as possible. A lot of good things happening there. I also had the pleasure to attend the Damascus Fire Company's 80th anniversary celebration and present them with a certificate of a recognition for 80 years. A very active group in Montgomery County. Congratulations to them for their many activities and happenings. So just a few things that we're working on, and a lot of things happening within the legislative committee. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're here to represent the volunteers and to get out there and make sure that we're treating them right. We all are experiencing the problems of trying to get people not only to meetings but to get to training, to get out there and service. It's like 5 years ago it seemed like it was as bad. Now it seems like after the COVID, getting people out and moving is a problem. I believe that a lot of that is communications, and I thank the Volunteer Trumpet and Jonathan Dayton for the great job they're doing as far as getting information out and trying to keep our people informed. The website seems like it's increasing, our msfa.org, and we're getting a lot of great information out through that. But much of this can be done by you and all of us as far as dealing with the public, dealing with the people that we associate with and we run into. So that's the key. Just get the communications, get information out, and talk to people. And thank you all for what you do.
Mr. President.
Chairman,
When you sit down.
it's been a busy time since we met at Union Bridge. Evidently, in 1924, there was a virus in the air that caused people in Maryland to want to form fire departments. I think I've been to four, representing the association, I've been to 400th anniversary events. 130th, that happened to be the MSP with at Pikesville, which was extremely good, and a couple of 50 anniversary ones. That's great. It's great to see that the departments are there. The departments are you. They're out working. We've been all over the state. We traveled, Charlie and I, just last Sunday. We're at Allegheny Garrett's county meeting in Orleans, a place that I never knew existed, other than in Louisiana. The job that we three have is more of a PR job. Help you all. Job of getting out. We've been showing the flag of MSFA, and we've been having some very good conversations with people. We're finding out that the problems that exist for the individual fire departments are the same problems that exist for our organization. Only the scale is just a little different for us. It's imperative of what First Vice President Charlie said, that we communicate. Communication, the key to success. Just like the movie, what we have here is a failure to communicate. We get in trouble when we have that, and we've had it a couple of times, and we're trying to work around that. The important thing is that my cohort, my mentor, Roger, keeps telling me, teamwork, we're a team, and we are. We used to call ourselves a brotherhood, and then by the finally getting smart and allowing the women to come in and be firefighters and EMS personnel, we started added sisterhood. I don't like either one of those names at all. The term I like, and I think if you listen to this, you understand, is family. You look out here, we're nothing more than one big family. We have the same problems that an individual 3-member family has. We have the same successes that an individual family has. We fight against one another, just like a family does. But God help anybody that comes against us, because we unite. And that's the thing. We, all of us, unite, and we become stronger. And that's what we need to do. This weekend we'll do that. Again, our thanks to Berlin, to Chief Fitzgerald. Thanks to all the people that have helped here set this up. Even Doyle, who finally got us our directories, he does come through, okay? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It doesn't, okay, let's see, that's better. Okay. Good morning, everyone. So my report's been electronically filed, if you had a chance to review it. It's kind of lengthy. I'm not going to go piece by piece through it. You'll see all of the updates that we continue to work on through the office with Lynn and I and with our SAFER coordinators. Key points that I'd like to reference is what First Vice President Simpson mentioned was the website. You'll see in my report the increase in traffic and user engagement. So since we've been doing a lot of our paid and organic posts through social media, we've been able to increase our traffic on the new website dramatically. So even though it's starting to do that winter season drop off, we had really are standing steady with customer traffic. So getting a lot of good information out to the Maryland Fire Service and beyond every single day. You'll see all of the SAFER grant updates. I won't belabor them and read each one, but we are continuing to work with the Maryland Fire Chiefs for their training projects that they have coming this next year, which will be the final year of our SAFER grant. So please continue to share the opportunities that we offer through the SAFER grant, and make sure that we're providing these services and programs to the departments. We are intending, and we have pretty much the entire application completed so far with a few tweaks left to go, but we will be applying for a new SAFER grant in this upcoming application period, which opens actually Monday. So we will continue to work with the Maryland Fire Chiefs. We will provide the narrative to the grants committee and have them review it, and just make sure that everything is in line with what our initiatives will be for the next 4 years if we're blessed enough to get another SAFER grant. A couple of things that were not in my report. We did receive a proposal for putting the directory online. I know that's been a topic of conversation over the last couple of years. I'm not sure if that requires approval or, whatever, I'm not sure, but we do have a proposal to put it online where it would be searchable, it would be password protected, and there would be an option for people to opt out of the online version if they so choose. It would only be emails and phone numbers, not addresses. And it would coincide with an online app. So if you were out and about and you didn't have your paper directory with you, you could bring up the directory on your phone. And so that's something that we're looking at. Obviously, that's something that would have to come from all areas, the officers, the executive committee, but we do have a proposal for that. President Smothers, past President Smothers, do you have a comment?
No, we're going to wait till you get done, but
Oh, okay.
in reference to that, so just hold that thought.
Okay. The other two things that I have outside of my report is we're working with 2 vendors for the new MSFA apparel. So there will be some items that will be posted online via shopping link. So in case, most people go to their mom and pop or whoever they're used to using, but in order for people to have a larger shop of items with the new logo and the new name, we're working with one outside of Baltimore and one in Southern Maryland. So once we get those shopping pages up and running, we'll be sharing the links with everybody. And lastly, the tax documents for 2024 have been updated and posted online. We had a couple of tweaks we needed to do this weekend, and I think Austin, he's kind of down with a cold this weekend, so he got that stuff up and ready for us. So if there's anybody that has any questions regarding the tax documents, they can reach out to Chairman Hemphill. I want to acknowledge, obviously, my executive assistant, Lynn, who is obviously continuing to do all of the back-end work at the office. I appreciate her support for another few months that we've been here through 2024. And I do want to acknowledge Dale Bowen, who I believe is the only SAFER coordinator here today. So Dale. So if you have any questions regarding anything recruitment and retention for SAFER, you can partner with Dale this weekend. But other than that, that's all I have. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season, and I'll take any questions.
Well, I actually have 2, but I know we're getting ready to redo the SAFER grant. Are we looking for increased funding direction? Is it going to be set out the same way?
So there'll be different buckets, different programs that we're looking at, rather than some of the programs that really didn't perform well or that weren't taken advantage of too much. So we're going to revamp those into other programs that will generate better spending, but it will be probably around the same amount, 2.2, 2.3, and fewer coordinators. So we'll have probably 3 or 4 coordinators rather than the 6 or 7 that we've had, that will do more condensed work rather than spreading it out all over the state.
Okay. And the second item, which under my term, I want to say thank the folks that really did the back-end work for getting our new website. I think it's working good for us. And that was one of the things, is putting our directory online, because everybody lives off of a cell phone. So, and I think it's great. Those folks that want to opt out certainly should be able to. But I think, and I'll make it a motion that we put our directory online, if that's helpful to you, so that we can move forward, because everybody lives by electronics now. So you might as well move forward with it. I think it's going to be a lot easier. It also helps our state officials when they need to look somebody up and they don't have a book.
Okay, we have a motion by past President Eric Smothers and seconded by Tim Dayton that we approve having the directory put online. Any discussion? You got a comment?
Just a reminder that it can be, or they will make it to where we can get in. There'll be a handful of people that will have access, whoever is deemed to have access to the directory, to be able to go in and make changes in real time. So in case there's a change of a phone number, an update, or an email, it can be done and posted within, a few minutes rather than having to wait the full year.
So is that going to be the administrator of that? 'Cause I don't
No,
think
so whoever within the MSFA would have access. So I'm assuming the secretary's office and
Right,
whoever
you and
else is
Lynn and
deemed.
the secretary, yeah, so, I mean, that would be, once you submit.
very small
say-
group of people would be able to get
Yeah,
in
so
and
you say, hey,
edit it.
I'm changing my address and stuff, and then somewhere in a timely fashion, it's gonna get changed
Yeah.
between the group, the small group of you.
And what we'll do is we'll put the notification out that if you want to opt out, you have until March 1st of 2025 to opt out, or your phone number and email will be listed. There'll be a form, we'll create something where people can go in and just say, hey, no, I don't want to be in the directory.
Thank you both for what you do. A lot of folks don't realize the work that you and Lynn do behind the scenes, so I'll say thank you for all your help and stuff
Thank
that
you.
both of you do.
Okay. Got a motion, and we'll work the details out after it passes or dies. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed.
And then for by safer funds, because it is a retention tool, so it's not going to affect our budget at all.
Okay.
One other,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Kate, congratulations on doing the reports to all the presidents that have their email addresses. I think that's a great idea. Maybe want to expand it to some of the other delegates. And just a thought, maybe when the trumpet comes out, we could do that electronically also to some of those email addresses to help improve the trumpet reading.
Yeah, Jonathan has more information on who that goes to.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm not sure if that goes electronically.
Just a
Mark says
thought.
it, yeah. Sure, yeah.
Who? Jonathan?
Jonathan? Who does the, who are you sending the trumpet to legislative wise? Does that go to everybody, or is it?
No, I'm talking about our own presence of our fire companies. That Kate has come up with sending out the MSFA reports, the executive reports, and I think it's a good idea to send trumpet and really anything else that's of importance to help boost the readership and information.
Thank you. Your report, Chaplain. So if everybody gets on deck, we move along. And while we're waiting for the secretary, President Kerry has an announcement he would like to make.
Through the generosity of the Ocean City Mayor's Office, I've acquired some passes for Winterfest of Light. Get them. Only problem is, you gotta walk it. There's no tram. But I have a few.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Every now and then. Here comes the man now.
It's kind of directional. I think you can actually speak to it.
Okay, this. Chairman, one, no,
Just keep talking.
okay, you should be able to hear me. That was the middle one. Action item today for you is you need to approve the minutes of the August the 17th, 18th Executive Committee meeting at Union Bridge. Also, August the 17th, a special session. Then on December the 30th, a conference call. So those are the three that you need to approve today. Mr. Chairman, each of you should have received a copy of the bylaws. This is the official copy that you will be working by. Today we have the directors, as the president indicated. I'll be around, give out the copies to the executive committee and other members. Committee chairs, when you submit your report to reports@msfa.org or report, either one of them, it'll go through. Very important that you send it there. Don't send it straight to me or the president or anyone. Send it to report, and we will get a copy of it. Also on the back desk, back table is information on the next executive committee meeting for the hotel. It's located in California. The meeting will be in Ridge. So with that, anyone have any questions?
Any questions of the Secretary's report?
Just a note of thanks to each and every one in here. Some of you know that about 2 weeks ago I had a minor health hazard.
Yeah.
I guess, put it that way, mild.
The motor quits running, you got a major problem, but
Anyway, I want to thank you that called, sent a note. I had a minor heart attack. Went into the hospital 2 weeks ago, Saturday, and checked in the emergency room. 45 minutes later, I was upstairs in the cath lab and received a stent. No changes. Still fine as I did the day I walked in there. No pains. So that's the story on that. Thank you.
okay, as I said, we got a motion before you leave. We got a motion to approve the minutes of the 3 meetings. Second by Jewel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. All 3 minutes approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, Doyle,
Got a question for
you
you.
look even better, too.
Well, nothing has changed there. I always look good.
Okay, the Chief Chaplain's report. Next up will be the President of the Ladies Auxiliary. Sure, you'll be up next. Thank you.
Good morning. As we enter the holiday season, I'd like to remind everyone to keep an eye on your family members and also your fire service members, as this is our high suicide rate time of the year, so please keep an eye on them. It's hard to believe the year's coming to a close, so those of you who haven't submitted your memorial requests, please get them in. As of today, we have 141. That's 300 down from normal. Only 2 special tributes this year, which is great. It means we're not dying off as fast as we have been. We just completed the Federation of Fire Chaplains Conference in Annapolis. Had 163 chaplains attend, which was great, and 31 spouses. If anyone needs anything for your events, I'd ask you to contact Entenmann's. They donated 160 dozen donuts and 120 boxes of muffins. So I'm getting T-shirts made up saying I survived the great donut conference of Annapolis. So it was right down to the wire where we still had donuts left over. So remind all your folks that February 1st is the deadline for the memorials. Get those in, and I sent the list out to you and attached to my report. So if you don't see names on there, please get them submitted. Thank you.
Any questions of the chaplain? Thank you. President. Yeah, that's fine.
I got the voice. Everybody can hear me.
Excuse me, I asked that you use the microphone because there is a problem. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to figure it out.
You want me to go to that one or that one?
Don't use it.
Okay.
Thank you.
It seems like it's going to work for me, and I have a big mouth. Same as the NSFA presidents, our ladies have been, the auxiliary has been going through the state. We've been doing any county meetings we can. I think we've covered it pretty well. If you have one that you don't see us or your ladies don't see us, let us know. We'll get there. And I just also wanted to announce the past presidents are in attendance today. 1995-96, Sharon Worthington. 2010-2011, Sandy Lutz. 2011-2012, Teresa Ann Chrisman. 2022-2023, Amelia Dalton. 2023-2024, Jean Main. And the next, the spring conference for the auxiliary will be April 5th in Parsonsburg. So more information will come out with that. Thank you.
Thank you. First Vice President, have anything? Okay.
I mean, not literally.
Okay, somebody going to do a report for her? No report. Second Vice President, or Junior Vice President, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Betsy Marshall Fund. And then next up is the, are there fire ambassadors here? Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Christmas.
And I thank you for supporting the Bessie Marshall Fund through all the years that you have. Lori is not here today, and she brings you, I bring greetings from her. Her mother-in-law passed away, Patricia Dembo. So they're having that funeral and so forth this weekend. So she's not here this weekend. We have had, in the course of 18 days, I had an additional 9 cases sent to me. So in total, we have had 18 cases so far this year. Not everyone collects the full $1,020, but the majority of people do. So if you look at that, that's, well over $18,000 already halfway through the year. So we encourage you to please, I guess, the lottery tickets that we send out to everyone are a very, very important fundraiser for us. It gives you an opportunity to win money throughout the whole year. It always warms my heart when I see so many of the winners being fire companies themselves or ladies auxiliaries themselves, where the fire company buys the tickets. I encourage companies also maybe to use that as a retention tool. Buy the tickets, put your members' names on them. When you're in a company meeting, make a motion somebody to buy those tickets and let everybody in the room fill out a ticket. That's not a lot of money to put out, and it's something that you're giving back to your members. So that's one of the ways I encourage the sale of those. But anything that you can take back when you're at your meetings to encourage them to support the Bessie Marshall, we greatly appreciate that. Today, Bob Cumberland has been very gracious. He's donated a number of Afghans to the Bessie Marshall table. We have one over here that we're raffling today. I also have Bessie Marshall pins. If none of you, if you've forgotten put your Bessie Marshall pin on, we have those for sale. And I'll give you a breakdown of where all these cases come from. We have 3 from Allegheny, 1 from Anne Arundel, 4 from Carroll County, 3 from Cecil County, 3 from Frederick, 1 from Garrick, 1 from Kent, 1 from Wycomico, and 1 from Washington. The thing that really surprises me is that so many of these come in and they're not filled out completely. I have one man that I'm battling getting his Social Security number. He doesn't want to give me his Social Security number. But you do get a 1099 for that money if it's over $600. So there's a lot of battles that you have to go through with these things and to get information. But they do get processed. It's a slow process, but it gets done. And we just appreciate any help you can give us at your county level. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions, Sharon? Thank you. Great work. Thank you. I know the ambassadors just came in. I don't know if are they ready to come up and have anything to say, or come back to them?
Use the
Okay. All right, good morning, everyone. We apologize for being late. I am Madeline Mahan, and I am the MSFA State Fire Prevention, Miss Fire Prevention for this year and next, and I'm very honored to be here today. We've had a wonderful half of a year, put in almost, well, actually well over 3,000 miles on our traveling so far. It's been a lot of fun, and we're really excited for more events with you guys. A little safety tip for today is if you have Christmas trees, please keep them watered to prevent them from catching on fire, and please make sure any of your heating devices in your house, whether it's a wood stove or any portable heater, that everything is about 3 feet away and that they're not on any rug or carpet that's not rated for it to do so. So thank you guys. I'm going to pass the mic to first runner up.
My name is Caitlin Ligan. I am the first runner up for the year. Okay, there we go. My safety tip for today is to make sure that your chimneys are thoroughly swept when you're using your fire. No flammable objects. I've also been about 2,500 miles so far this year and been able to go to able to do this. If there are any events that you guys would like us to, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Dr. Chasm here. Glad to see you. Thank you. The Board of Trustees is up. Attorney will be next. Like playing the lottery, but
Playing the lottery. Sharon seemed to have loved this one. I'm going to try this one. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to report that since convention last June, the trustees have not had any claims for line of duty death or line of duty injury. So right now we are working on one continuation claim from Easton for line of duty injury, but that is all that we have ongoing at this time.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Turn is up. Next will be parliamentarian Kenny Bush. It is representing Richard Brooks.
Progress. Questions?
progress.
That it?
Chaplain Long, if you ever have an event and have extra donuts, just give my brother a call. He'll take care. Thank you.
Let's see, I got to turn the page now. Next up will be the Maryland Fire Rescue Memorial Foundation. That'll be past President Mike Faust and past President Teresa Chrisman.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Parliamentarian Richard Brooks and Assistant Parliamentarian Woods, I just bring you greetings from the Office of Parliamentarian. We similarly report progress in our office. We're here to serve you and wish you all a happy and safe holiday season. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. MDEM will be after the Maryland Fire Rescue Memorial Foundation.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see everyone. It's been a while. So, Merry Christmas. I'm going to report very briefly on the gala chamber in this past year. The last count, we're still waiting on a couple of checks. We raised about $16,000. So I'd like to thank everybody for their support and those that attended. And for next year's gala, we're still debating on who's going to be in charge of it. It might be me, maybe somebody else. But we truly appreciate the support and would like to get more support from others if we can. I've said at the Kent and Queen Anne's Association meetings, I think some of the most important things we do is recognizing our members that have achieved great things, but it's also important to recognize those that we've lost, especially in the line of duty. So please go back to your companies and sponsor tables.
buy tickets, whatever you like to do. We'd love to have you show up in Annapolis, but around $16,000 this past year. And Teresa's going to talk about something we're going to kick back off again.
One of the biggest fundraisers that we have for the Memorial Foundation is the bricks. And Doyle handles the bricks, and people send them to him. They get it, and then Mr. Jean goes and lays them. What we used to do in the very beginning, when you purchased a brick, you got a little commemorative brick that came along with it. We reintroduced that. When you purchase a brick, you'll receive the identical brick in a 2-by-3-inch brick, I believe, and that will accommodate, come with that brick. So we're hoping that will bring a lot of importance. We do know that there have been several fire departments that instead of giving their top 10 members a plaque, they actually give them a small gift and then they present them a brick in Annapolis. I use Huntingtown as an example. Last year, their top 10 and all their officers, they did bricks at both locations, the foundation up in Emmitsburg, and then they did bricks in Annapolis. So they're looking at that, and that's one way to thank your members and truly honor those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. It's important. We've done a lot of upgrades, and as Dennis has talked in the past, we're working on the next phase of that upgrade. Slowly but surely it's coming along. I do know that he's very upset with the state of Maryland and how they pay their bills. It's taken some time for some of our vendors to be paid back. So as he brought it up before, the MSFA has graciously supported it. They'll allow us to pay those people, cover that, and then when we get the money back, whenever the Public Works Committee meets, we'll get it. But it's an important function that we really want. What we really need. Never mind. All right,
It must be you.
But I really think it's important that you have the opportunity to get this break. Find a way. Christmas is coming. Your holidays are coming. Birthdays. When people retire, we got a couple retirees. Let's buy them a brick. So it's a unique way to say thank you. And then ultimately go to Annapolis when you can and walk the memorial, read the names, and learn our history. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll be up after MDM.
Good morning. I'll bring you greetings from Secretary Strickland. Our report was electronically submitted. I'd like to start out by saying that we are in our new headquarters. We moved into it in Hanover, in Anne Arundel County this fall. For your information, the address is 7229 Parkway Drive. We're in Suite 200. We've held our first activation for the 2024 a general election in November. As I go through the report, the Office of Resilience in September, the Maryland Office of Resilience launched a resilience toolkit, a one-stop destination for resilience, resources, and information in Maryland. Using this publicly available tool, you can find information about funding, planning, data, technical assistance, and more. So check the toolkit out. The Maryland 911 Board, the members participated in the orientation earlier this fall. They have tremendous responsibility and their work makes Marylanders safer each day. Josh Friedman, MDM Principal Counsel and Attorney General shared the key laws and other important insights for the board. The board also recently released new recruitment videos that can be customized by all state 911 centers and PSAPs. Under our consequence management, the response and coordination. The department is planning regional information sessions for the fire and emergency services and help develop mission-ready packages in emergency management for the Emergency Management System Compact. They assist with regional exercises and help key MSFA members gain access to WebEOC. This is all about the committee that I chair, and I'll give you a brief report on that right after this. Their planning has begun for search and rescue exercise on 25-26. This next exercise will be in the area of the Lock Raven Dam in Baltimore. Following the 23-24 series on the Potomac and Frederick and Washington County area, the SAR-X will include tabletops, functional exercises, and more specific will be available in the coming months. Under the resource management, MDM continues to help create mission-ready packages for development under the Emergency Management Compact. We had quite a few assets that were deployed during the last hurricane in Helene and Milton. We had Maryland National Guards and 12 soldiers and 2 helicopters, 3 members of the Harford County Sheriff, and a planner from the county emergency services also were deployed. A PIO from the Harford Volunteer Firemen's Association was deployed. Several members of MEMS were deployed, and also 3 members from our department were deployed. Again, Maryland Task Force 1 has some information there, and they are a FEMA asset. Under the communications and outreach, MDM, in conjunction with Maryland Information Network, rolled out a major enhancement of the Maryland Ready program. Maryland Ready, the emergency preparedness text alert system, allows faster message delivery and customized subscriber experience with translation in 185 languages and county-specific emergency alerts. Maryland is the first state to offer this many individual languages preference in the emergency alert systems. Then I'd like to highlight under the risk and recovery, the branch has developed an interim policy to administer the state disaster recovery fund. This will enable the fund to finance certain existing state disaster relief programs. Also, Maryland Mesonet, if you're not familiar with that, that is a series of weather stations that they are putting up. Right now, it has grown to 19 sites in 15 counties. The goal is to have at least one station in every county throughout the state. Once they get that, they will go back and put up, hopefully, second stations there as well. And that's all that I would like to do for the MDM. I have information. I know that Bob Phillips has been talking to you guys about the differences and issues with the Amos Fund. I have information if there are any questions on that as well. Are there any questions for MDM?
Nope. If we have any questions on 508, or do that now, or wait? Or Marshall's not here, so maybe he might have some questions. Questions on the 508 Why don't you just hit the last report that we got last night, just so everybody in the room knows, if you got it with you.
They sent that to me, so I didn't get that one, so. But the one I do have, it lists the counties that got less than they did last year, and it also says why. I will say that for this year, there are 6 counties which have not done their reports, and then there are several counties that are on here that got decreases. One was decrease in qualified municipal expenditures. Another one was a decrease in the property taxes, and all this affects the money that is distributed. A maintenance of effort penalty, that's when the money from this year that was spent in the for the fire protection was less than it has been, and that causes a maintenance of effort penalty. And so, so that's what we have. I have a list of all the counties and what they did get. I know there was an issue with Baltimore County and Baltimore City, and that has been rectified and will be changed around so that they get the proper funding that they were supposed to. Yes, sir. Pardon?
Yeah, Calvert, yes.
Yeah.
The maintenance effort.
Calvert was the maintenance of effort penalty. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can.
Yes. It should have been sent. It was emailed out last night by Bob Phillips.
Bob.
That's the latest report.
Now the one that I was not the latest. This one I got earlier in the week, and the one that's come out since, that's the one that you guys are talking about, and it had a little bit more information on specific counties in that report.
Yeah, what we received last night, Bob Phillips, I'll send it here in a few minutes, Tim. Okay. Okay. Well, we got it last night after the reception we had. Bob Phillips got it yesterday, and he said he was going to send it out last night, but I will forward it. It's the latest one. We've been working on this. We had a Zoom meeting on Tuesday with Bob Phillips, the presidents, and myself, 2 vice chairmen of the executive committee. And at that time, we were told nobody received any money. The next day, we were told that some of the money went out, but it wasn't the same amount as last year. And we got some new people with MDM. It's the first time they're doing it, so we can't really blame it on them. They're trying to learn the system too. So, but anyway, the last report we got as of last night, the monies has been sent out, except for some of the counties that did not have all of the report in from the companies. And I found out during this process, I thought it was on a calendar year, but it's on a physical year, so the fire reports have to be done from July 1 through June 30th, because then the fire marshal has to give a report to MDM. And if he doesn't have if the reports aren't done on time, one company can hold up the whole county from getting their funding. We don't know how we got to get this information out, but since this program started, it's been the same guidelines as far as everybody needs to report, or it holds up the whole county. So sometimes the fire marshal's information has not been up to date on their website because Berlin, who I represent on the executive committee, they were showing short on the reports, but they sent the fire marshal's office all the reports, so that were not posted yet on the fire marshal's page. So we are trying to keep this moving forward and represent the volunteers as we can and make sure that the reports are up. So we send out the information to, when I receive it, I send it to the 3 counties I represent, and we're trying to keep on top of it. Key is, we have a problem in Ocean City where our reports are not always up to date because the incident commander didn't fill the report out. So our chairman in Ocean City that hands them in every fire meeting, he stands up and reads everybody's name out that doesn't have a report done. So some of them go do it, and some of them you got to take them downstairs to the computer and say, okay, fill this report out. Because they don't understand they're holding up the whole county. It's not just Ocean City, it's the whole county. So, and everybody needs their money. So our comments.
Do you want me to read the 6 counties that are still delinquent in the report?
Yes, sir.
They are Caroline, Cecil, St. Mary's, Somerset, Wycomico, and Worcester.
Yep. But found out now, though, I think what our Tuesday was up to date. There again, I can't confirm that. Okay, go by your paper. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So the executive committee members are going to start getting a copy of that report. The executive committee members are going to start getting a copy of that report.
I can't answer that.
That I don't know.
Nobody can answer.
You can go to the fire marshal's office.
Yes.
There's an email address for that, but I don't have it with me off the top of my head. But you go to the fire marshal's office for under reports, and it'll give you the latest. The latest thing they had posted the other day was November 28th.
No, it's up to December 6th.
Okay.
I just checked it.
Okay, thank you. You know what I mean? So you can go there. If you got that address, can you send that out to the executive committee?
Yeah.
Or
Fire Marshal's website.
the fire marshal's website, and you go under NIFRS reports.
I'm only my first time dealing with this problem. And so my concern is a better way that we can communicate this stuff, because when I was called about the first thing, first part of the week, I got one, so that I reported to the association, and then last night walking in the door, I got a whole total different thing, and he explained it to one of the county members because they was sitting up over the convention center, and that started a whole big crap storm. By the time it got to me, and then trying to sort it all out, so we need to be thinking from the same sheet of music and make sure the information when we ask a question, we get the most best answer to the information so we can take it back to our people. We can resolve the problem or get to the issue by being misinformed.
Yeah, I understand. Right here, I got 3 reports. I got one Tuesday, one Wednesday, and one Friday night.
Well, at least
so
you got
that's
that.
that's in 1 week. So
Yeah, right, but at least you got that.
So we'll make sure we get this out. As we get it, we'll forward it out. And I can ask.
In my case, I'm new, but this is my first time dealing with it.
I understand.
Okay.
And we're here to.
And this is the first time I have seen MDM even do this. So hopefully it's something that they will continue to do so that you'll be up to date with it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Tim
Thank
just
you.
sent it out to us for the address. Chip.
Just what we need to be looking at, we're having this kind of issue on difference reports that have been around since the inception. What's going to happen when NEARS is coming in, where we have a whole new system that's coming in? We've got to really be on our toes because this is state law.
But it's got to be changed.
Period. So now we've got to go legislatively because it has to be changed, but we're going to be required to do the NEARS report. So we got to really make sure that we're getting trained and familiar on the submission of these reports, or we're going to be way behind the eight time next year.
Yes.
This is all going.
Kenny Bush, has the fire marshal's office established anything yet as far as what type of procedure we're going to be doing? Because my understanding is the reports will no longer go straight to the Fed.
I think
We're working on that. The legislative-wise, I'm not.
I believe they were working on, the current fire marshal was working on making sure that Maryland had access and had a link as our stuff was being entered, that we could see it in real time. But, so that part's being worked on, that connectivity, because there's other states that want to have that information. But the biggest part, it comes back to the chief officer on the scene not doing a report. And we've talked about this even last year. How many times did I say that, you know, and it's not just the volunteers, it's career and volunteers. So they look at the whole system. That's how you get your money back, because the money's divvied up between both entities, career and volunteer. Doesn't just go back. How it's distributed, it's up to the counties on how the money is distributed, but it all comes back to one county. So it's back to your general fund, and then it's distributed however the counties, associations, and the elected officials figured out how they want to do that. So we don't get into the weeds of that. But the crux of the problem, once the scene or incident doesn't fill out the report, then that holds up everybody. So I know we've got a check and balance in Frederick County especially for our career staff, those reports have got to be done within 24 hours, or their chief officer is calling them up. And we have the same thing for our volunteers. So the onus has got to come back to the departments, that they've got to do their due diligence to get the report in. It's nobody else's fault except the folks on boots on the ground, chief officer not doing their report. And NEARS is going to be the same way. As soon as that report's done, it's going to be live in real time. Is to be able to see what we do nationwide in real time.
Mr. Bush?
And there are three qualifications for that. One of them is non-compliance with the reporting. And then it's failure to maintain qualified expenditures, which is property which is by ESTAT. So,
yeah, I mean that part we don't control. I mean the county's doing those.
Just the report. Yes.
Our primary is to make sure that the reports are actually being done.
Yeah.
So that's our issue, and we got to the association. Got to get the reports done, or you don't get your money. And here's the first part of that.
Yeah.
And how many times has Brian told us, if you don't get your reports in, you're not getting your money, and here we are.
Yeah.
All right, Kenny, got something to say there?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In response to a couple of things, number one, as a part of the State Fire Marshal's Office report, if you look at page 10 of the report that I distributed this morning in writing, there are two pieces of information there that you might find useful regarding this topic. Number one is that there's a list of overdue fire reports as of December 10th, and there's only 4 companies on that list as far as the report from the Fire Marshal's Office is concerned. The other part is the answer to the question about the impact of NEARS. If you look at the next item on that page, it says there that really there has not been a policy established how that will impact our fires in the state of Maryland. You can see that in February, that the State Fire Marshal's Office staff is going to attend a summit or a 3-day forum hosted by the U.S. Fire Administration to try to address this issue. It is my understanding that once those reports are submitted which will all go directly to the U.S. Fire Administration from the fire companies. That report will be generated back to the individual state fire marshal's office so that they will have the information on hand to report back for funding purposes. So I think that should answer your question, I think, correct?
Correct. And again, as we've said all along, at this point, the legislation says they have to go to your office, to the fire marshal's office. So if we send it to the feds only, then we're basically in violation of state law. And again, I'm concerned that we're all going to get caught with money because that's not holding the requirement. So that's another thing that we're going to be doing as far as an organization, the fire marshal and MDM, to reestablish or to read the state law, so we're not going to be in violation and not be penalized.
And part of the U.S. Fire Administration's policy will be to distribute that information back to the states. So we will have it.
Yeah. You'll have it, but again, you're not getting it
We're not
from
doing
us.
what, not doing like the law says, but I think it's being worked on. Let's see what the president has to say.
Mr. Chairman, this is addressed to both you and to Bill. Is it not possible that MDEMS could send the copy of the report that they send to the counties to the executive director's office, and she could then distribute it amongst our troops? And everybody would have whether it's an accurate report, whether it's the current report, or whether it's the report from 1872, we could all have the report. Could that not be possible?
I will have to take that back, Skip, and find out. I can really, and not in a position to answer that, but I can definitely let them know that.
Yeah, you may check with Russ and see what we can go. I know you're a short timer now. You can barely see over the top of your boots, for the ones of us that know what that means. But that would a communications problem would be eliminated, definitely. Yeah, Kate, could you handle that if it came to you? I know the two of you could, no way, shape, or form on that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
I don't have one. Bill, you're the MDM Fire Service personnel.
He gave that report while he was sitting there.
No, I'm good.
Oh, you get ready to do it. Sorry. I thought I had.
Well, no, I was just going to ask, with the relocation of MDM to a new facility, and I know one time Director Strickland, or Secretary Strickland said they were working on some changes. I was wondering if those changes have affected your committee and what it does or doesn't do, and something that the MSFA needs to look into.
Well, if I may continue with that report, the old fire desk, as we have known it, no longer exists. I mean, just the way that we're doing this, the way we're running the EOC is totally different. And so that, with the MDM Fire Service Personnel Group Committee, we are now working closely with them to hopefully become more involved. We did have a meeting October 1st. We met up at MDM. There were two people there, myself and one other, along with Lisa, and we had one that was was able to attend virtually. So the discussion that day, we will be setting up information sessions for fire and emergency services in the regions. This is something that we want to work toward. We want to lead the efforts regionally for the regional mission-ready packages, which we hopefully can get the information out, what this means, what to the local jurisdictions. We're going to help with regional exercises, and for all of us to have access. WebEOC is changing to a new platform, and if you have had a WebEOC account, you probably will not be able to get into it with your past login. So that has all been changed, and we're working with them so that our committee will be able to help them. So, so we are working very closely. We will be working with tracking the resources that are deployed. We have come up with a list of training that the people on this committee should have. That is listed in the MDM report and in my report as well. So that is something for all the members. So for our committee, our priorities of moving forward are to recruit new members. We only have 3 active members right now that are on this committee that if we move forward, and I think that this is one committee that's going to keep the MSFA connected to MDM and working closely with them. I will be updating the website for our page on our website to get a better definition of this committee and what it does, because it has totally changed from what's on the website. Or we'll get emails set up so that we can have access to the information we need for Access WebEOC. We're working with a lady up there, Lisa Ray, and she is working closely with us, and we're to get the updated Fire and Emergency Services SCF plan updated and whatnot. She and I have updated it. We have not gotten it finalized. Get everyone's training records in accordance to what we think should be required to be a member of this committee and to help in the SEOC. We're setting up regional training sessions on MEMAC and go over mission-ready practice and credentialing. And I want to make sure that next year at our convention that we have a breakout session where MDM and this committee can go over the MEMAC system and what it means to be deployed. So our goal is to make this a more effective committee, cultivate better working relationships with MDM. With my retirement at the end of the year, I plan to stay involved with MDM through this committee and chair the committee and building our relationship between the two organizations. So that's what I have to report to you. I don't know, Mark, if that answered your question, but it's just not, it's a lot of more of doing tracking resources and helping people, if they want to be deployed, how we can help with any information they need.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Bill on his report? Thank you, Bill, and congratulations on your retirement, buddy.
Retirement.
Okay. Director Cox, you are up with MIFRE. Maryland State Police Aviation's on deck.
Chairman.
Morning.
Couple things update you all on. I'll start off with the EMT program numbers. The numbers as of right now are just relative and around the ones for National Registry. Right now we're running a 73% pass rate for MIFRE classes, and then the National Registry's at 74. I wouldn't get shook up too much about those numbers. There's only 18 of the 60 classes that have went all the way through and tested, so that's the numbers we have from them right now. On the subject of that, though, I do want to make you all aware, and our folks sat in on a webinar the other day. National Registry is getting ready to change some of the ordering of questions that they do on the testing. So, again, We've just seen the first webinar about that, and then we'll get some more information as we go forward and see how that may or may not affect us when they do that. Also, on EMT, the EMT research, Dr. Chismar's here. I'll let him explain it. That is changing starting July of 2025, and how the practical skills are done for the EMT research. So, instructor recruitment. As always, we continue to actively recruit instructors. Again, somebody just needs to be 21 years of age, have 3 years of experience in the field that they want to teach, and be in good standing with their department or sponsoring agency. October 30th was the last meeting of the Maryland Instructor Certification Review Board. That was the 200th meeting for the MICRB. So at the conclusion of that, there's 793 state emergency services instructors. There's 266 instructor evaluators, 17 instructor trainers, and the next meeting of the MICRB will be held in February at MIFRI. Instructor trainer issues. Over the years, we've seen a decline in those numbers. We've been working with MIFRI Tech, the Maryland Fire Rescue Education Training Commission, come up with a solution for that. We at MIFRI have proposed a program, and I think I mentioned it, where we would do away with the degree requirements to make someone an instructor trainer. So, what our folks were proposing was that someone who has taught more than 750 hours and has so many years of experience MIFRI to teach instructors how to be instructors. So that is the Fire Rescue Education Commission right now. We proposed, they had a special meeting the other day to look at it. I haven't heard any conclusion one way or the other what they thought about it officially, but we'll see. As I've said before, previous executive committee meetings, we probably need to head down that road and go into the area like we're looking at, because the number of instructors continue to dwindle, and the current regulations in the COMAR, requiring someone to have a degree in education and the other requirements that come along with that is just really tough nowadays to meet. And I'm afraid as time goes on, another year or two, if we don't do something or put something in place, that it will be difficult for us to be able to train enough instructors to teach the MIFRI programs. So just keep that on your plates for the near future, and I'll let you know when we get a response from MIFRI Tech on what they were looking at. So, instructor skills, the next instructor skills programs is in April. April 12th and 13th will be the enhancements or the practices, and then the actual skills testing will occur on April 25th, 26th, and 27th. New and revised training programs. Last year, our folks had revised about 15 programs based on the changes to the NFPA standards and the Pro Board requirements. We're anticipating this year it'll be 20 to 22 new classes that'll be revised. So it's a significant load that our instructional developers are taking on. So we do get a lot of complaints, and more here in the recent about the length of some of the MIFRI classes and things like that. So I've asked Mr. Pat today to talk to you and review the process of how we get to where we, from point A to point B with our classes and the length of them and the information in them. So, Mr. Pat, you want to give them an overview?
Sure. These are all based, all our programs are based on professional qualification standards, NFPA professional qualification standards. The reason for that is to provide the student the opportunity to qualify for certification. So the standard basically requires certain what they call job performance requirements. The certification agencies, and there's two, there's IFSAC and Pro Board. Most of the time you hear us say Pro Board. They accredit the certifications. The standards, people write the standards, the accreditation bodies accredit the certification. They come in and review our work every 5 years. They require that we, in essence, cover every single JPR, and that we have a test element for every single JPR. Now, do we believe that all of those things that are in those standards should be there? Absolutely not. And as the director said, I've sat on the professional qualification standards for 30 years, chaired the Firefighter Pro Qual committee for 10 years. And I can tell you it is extremely difficult to get people and to get organization to respond to proposed changes. I'm only one vote. And when I go in and I say, why are we putting this requirement in this standard? And how does it help? How does it make a better firefighter? And quite often, those comments fall on very deaf ears. And if I can't get any support, especially from fire companies, it goes in the document. I know most of you are aware of what goes on in Annapolis, and you're aware that every year the legislature passes hundreds and hundreds of bills that the governor signs. Do any of you remember the last bill that was repealed by the state legislature? I didn't think so. Same thing happens with our standards. Once it goes in there, we can't get it out, and it stays there. And when you say to people, why is it there? They have no idea. It's just there. Some previous group, the last cycle 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, put it in, and nobody took it out. These standards are getting more and more onerous, and they're expanding astronomically with people putting. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to get involved, encourage your members to get involved. If you have members who have specific expertise and want to be on committees, we'll be glad to help support them in that effort. We can't cover all these documents. We don't have enough people to be on top of every single one of these documents. As I said, they're all expanding. Unlike, for instance, EMS, where they only have really, at the BLS level, one document. We have basically dozens that we're trying to stay on top of. It's getting harder and harder. One of the comments that comes up is, well, we really don't need all of this stuff that you're putting in these courses. We don't disagree with you. And if you want us to take it out, tell us what you want to take out, number one, and then be understanding that your people will not qualify for certification if that has any significant meaning to you. And I think it does to most people. That's the biggest challenge. And you are not alone. I was questioned at the Metro Chiefs meeting last week about this very thing. And this one chief was complaining that their academy is getting longer and longer. And he was blaming it on MIFRE classes. Well, in that case, I came back and did a little bit of research. As an example, our EMT class is 207 hours. Their class at their academy for EMT is over 300. We didn't insert that additional 100. They did. But I understand why they did it. It's to try and get their students to pass. When it came to rescue, our programs were certainly, they added time to it. I understand that. They're trying to do that to get their students to pass. We have the same students that came out of the same school system, and we have a great deal of difficulty as well. But the only way this is going to change is, number one, people get involved, or enough people get involved and comment on these inputs or these courses, these standards, and talk a little bit about this, and then make decisions as to whether or not the certifications are that relevant across the board. But again, if any of you have people who have expertise and want to serve on these committees, these NFPA committees, and it's a lot of work, you just can't sign up, you actually have to do the work, we will do anything we can to support their participation.
All right, good. Thank you, Mr. Pat. So I asked him to do that today, obviously, because of his expertise in chairing these committees and all the years he's done that, but more so because I see the frustration in him when he comes back from being gone for a week or two and messing with all those folks and coming back like he's ready to, you know, tear a bear in half. So it's interesting. But again, thank you, Mr. Pat. Appreciate it. All right, next up, and it rolls us right into short courses. We love short courses. I've mentioned this before. We're starting to head in that direction. But the short courses aren't the certification programs or the initial certification programs. So we've already done the alternative fueled vehicles, lithium-ion batteries that is in the short course form that is out now. Hopefully next on the list is what we're hoping for is tactics, and then we'll roll into engine company, truck company operations, things of that nature. So we have them for ongoing training, you know, where certifications are required for that. All right. The OSHA 1910-156, as you know, we had folks sitting on that work group with MEMA, members of the MSFA and the career departments, Metro Chiefs and so forth. That work has pretty much been done. Comments went in, so we'll wait to see how that shakes out. And then we have been meeting again, sending representatives up to that. That's kind of spun off now, and I think that MEMA is wanting to go back and revisit and look at just to see whether it's adequate or not, and that is the Maryland Health and Safety Consensus Standard that was published back in late 1990s, early 2000s, that came through MEMA. So they're looking at that because we are allowed to have our own program in the state if the things don't shake out with some of the changes from OSHA. So they wanted to look at that. So we're still sending the people that. We'll let you know how that goes as it moves forward. So seminars and training, we've been pretty robust with them this year as we have been last year. We assisted the Maryland Fire Chiefs with the reading smoke seminars, 4 locations around the state a few months ago. We've had Dan Shaw in and done some engine company operations and high-rise operations seminars for us. We're going to do the registration for the Anne Arundel Fire Summit to help out the Early Heights Volunteer Department. And then we've requested another one of the rail car programs through the National State Fire Marshal Association. So we'll see. We did that last year, got a lot of great reviews and great attendance with those programs. Maryland Weekend is scheduled for February 22nd and 23rd up in Emmitsburg. The Hoagland Seminar, for those of you who got this report, we didn't find out until this morning, the dates on the Hoagland Seminar were changed. Still going to be held up in Rockville at the University of Maryland there. However, those dates have changed to March 8th and 9th. March 8th and 9th for the Hoagland Seminar. And the MIFRE's National Staff and Command Program will be held the week of March 2nd in Annapolis. So we filled a few positions, structural designer, a position that we had vacant, the administrative assistant position got filled over at our Upper Eastern Shore Regional Training Center. And we have a new program administrative specialist up at our front desk at Mifree. So last and but not least is I just wanted to touch on the IMT team. The IMT team years ago rolled off from being the Baltimore Regional IMT to the Maryland IMT team. Some of that, or most of that, was anchored at MEMA. I've had some discussion with Secretary Strickland, and he's informed us that that is probably going to change a bit because funding for that is running out. So while we hosted the manager and 2 deputies at Mifree, we'll see what happens with those positions and the team once we find out more information about the funding and the lack of it. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Question, go ahead, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? Okay.
Better. Yeah, I'm aware of that, and we are working on that issue. I don't know that there wasn't enough classes proposed.
Yeah.
The last time we looked at that, there were all the classes that were requested were proposed. Some of them didn't have the attendance to go.
Okay.
So.
I'm just sharing.
Yeah, no worries. We've been in, matter of fact, our operations chief, Steve Cox, is in close contact with the folks down there, and we're working hand in hand to make sure all that stuff is ironed out.
Okay, thank you. Overall, y'all do a good job. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you were talking about, Director Cox, you were talking about Mifree Tech and makeup or change for the instructors that you needed. Do we need to do something here through MSFA? How can we with that? 'Cause I think we need to probably have a conversation, or at least have a group of folks, i.e. maybe the presidents, assist you with that. And if so, we probably need to
Yeah, I have to,
point us in a direction.
until I'm able to see what they're going to come out with, I wouldn't want to, do anything right now until I get the information from them.
Okay.
So once the information comes back from them, if they looked at it and they have any suggestions or they have any changes, and then we can, I think, move forward from there.
And I know it's hard to get instructors, and that's statewide. And most of in reality is most of the instructors that you have are tagged to an academy or to a college. Those folks are making a lot more money than what you're able to do, and that's not your fault.
No, right.
So, when we look at the instructors, that's a big issue because these folks are tied to either a department or an academy or a college, and the dollars are there for them to teach, not so much to come out and help the volunteer category.
Absolutely.
And stuff. So that's the paradigm that we're in, that we can't meet that need based on, I'm a career firefighter and I make $80 an hour or whatever, I'm getting paid at my rank, and, they're not going to come to you and say, hey, here's what I'm paying you. So that's not going to happen, especially when they're teaching Monday through Friday. So that puts us in a quandary here for our volunteers. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's why we're constantly recruiting. And believe it or not, we do have some decent numbers recruiting. Just last month, I think they've had contact with 21 people that are interested in being instructors. So, we'll start moving forward and rolling them into the system and pairing them with somebody to kind of walk them through.
Well, hopefully we can get the word out to our volunteers. We're looking for instructors. So we got good people here. We just be able to get in that portal, and some of these folks do not have college degrees that can do the work.
Absolutely.
You know, so we need to change that shift, and I don't know how we got there with that you gotta be college educated to be able to teach some of our folks. I mean, the curriculum is what it is, and if you can teach, and, you know, you don't always have to be college educated.
I agree.
I'm not taking away from anything from the college
No,
educated
not at all.
folks, so I'm not taking that swipe, but we got people that can do the job.
Any more questions, comments?
Yes, any?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great seeing you,
Appreciate
Pat.
it.
Merry Christmas,
Yes, sir. Thank you. Maryland State Police Aviation, Mims is on deck, Dr. Chesball.
Good morning, everybody, and happy holidays. First Sergeant Jonathan Larson, Maryland State Police Aviation Command. I'm sorry? Jonathan Larson, L-A-R-S-E-N.
Yeah, just slow down a little bit. He's trying to.
Thank you. I see what you're working with.
He's
huh?
like a three-legged chicken. He's running trying to catch up with you. You flying past.
His ears can't hear that fast.
Understood.
He's got it. He's ready to go.
We know you guys know the flight mission.
All right. So it's my understanding that the report was sent in. The date on this report is from December the 10th, 2024. Regarding personnel, the Aviation Command currently has 7 helicopter line pilot vacancies, 1 maintenance technician vacancy, 1 maintenance training coordinator vacancy, 1 aviation lead maintenance tech 1 vacancy, 1 program manager 3 vacancy. There are currently 3 new pilots in training, 2 new trooper medics who were transferred into the Aviation Command on September the 18th. And there are currently 6 trooper medics still in field operations in road patrol, awaiting them to be transferred into the Aviation Command. Fleet update. On September the 5th, 2024, the 2nd aircraft, November 387 Mike Delta, went to Sterling for its heavy inspection. And while it's there, it's having the new Canyon radio installed in the aircraft. As of December the 1st, the Aviation Command currently has 3 aircraft in heavy inspections, putting the sections in the fleet at a 1-to-1 ratio. So there are no spare aircraft at this time until they start coming out of heavy maintenance. Hoist mission statistics for the year. The command has completed 14 aerial hoist. 2023, the command finished out with a total of 18, and in 2022, the command had 10. The whole blood program, which started May 10th, 2023, since its inception, we have administered 203 units of whole blood to 160 patients. For 2024, year to date, the command has flown a total of 2,667 missions, of which 1,745 have been EMS related, 121 have been law enforcement related, and 194 have been SAR, search and rescue missions. 2 notable missions as of recent: Trooper 5 at Cumberland on November the 27th responded to Jefferson County, West Virginia for a patient injured in a motor vehicle collision with entrapment. Trooper 5's flight crew administered whole blood and ended up transporting that patient to shock trauma in Baltimore. You can imagine that's a pretty long flight for them. In St. Mary's County on November the 28th, 3 MSP aircraft responded to St. Mary's County for MCI. There was a motor vehicle collision with 4 patients requiring medevac services. Trooper 7 out of Southern Maryland flew a patient with airway management to shock trauma. Trooper 2 out of Washington transported 2 patients to MedStar Hospital in DC. And Trooper 4 from Salisbury flew over the bay and ended up transporting a patient back here to Tidal Health in Salisbury. Some upcoming recruiting and outreach events on January the 31st at Sandy Point State Park will be the MSP Polar Bear Plunge, which supports Special Olympics for the state. And for the second year in a row, our team is partnering up with Shock Trauma's team, Therapeutic Hypothermia. And last year, the team raised over $13,000, which was the top fundraising team in the category. And that is MSP's brief. Are there any questions?
No question, but we did not receive a report electronically. If you could go back to your command and ask them to resend it.
I'd be more than happy to do that. Yes, sir.
I want to personally say thank you to the guys up at Trooper 3, Chris Adcock.
Acock? Mm-hmm.
His personnel came down to Laytonsville and did a training session with my membership and career staff. Very well attended. Some young people have never been that close to the trooper. And then the next week they had a hoisting drill up at the Frederick hangar. So again, you allowing us to participate, big word, to help you for us to have a speedy event back to the hospital. So thank you for your continuous training with the LFRDs, and I would encourage any LFRD to reach out to get some one-on-one training. So it was very well attended. And please, again, thank you to your staff and your continuous support for the guys on the floor, on the ground. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I would just also point out, you know I'm going there, right? I think for our service here, especially with the whole blood program in connection with the shock trauma system, and there's other jurisdictions, even ground-based outfits that are now starting to pick that up. You know, for us here in Maryland, one thing to recognize really is that the aviation unit was really, truly one of the very first ones to do that statewide instead of independently. So they just had some folks that came in from San Diego, California to look at our program as well as the trauma center. So that's a plus. Long overdue. Wish I had had it when it was just starting when I left 2 years ago. But kudos for what's been done. It certainly helped a lot of our trauma patients. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the whole blood program, it's certainly a game changer for the state of Maryland. And, you know, I'm certainly not knocking any of the, ground providers because we're all, paramedics. We all provide and should provide the same level of care. The one thing that we bring to the table to these patients who are in their, most, critical needs and their, time is speed. We bring speed to get them to definitive care. And the whole blood program, that's allowing these patients, who normally wouldn't make that transport, it's giving them that time to get there. For the doctors in the operating rooms, I'll let Dr. Delbridge,
I
touch
think
on all
just for the
that.
research that's going on with what's happening, trauma center, I know everybody's tracking that. Dr. Delbridge as well, Mim. So, and then of course you're modeling the newer tire. So we're back to green,
Indeed.
So, he's modeling the new hot flight suit for everybody, so they don't show up in black anymore. So I'm going to embarrass you. Yes, I am. So
I'm sure you still have one, Eric.
Yeah, I still have one.
Any other questions, comments? We'd just like to thank you for your service. It's a great service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Absolutely.
Mims. Next up, shock trauma deck. Then office of the fire marshal.
You're up.
You're up, Becky's up. Oh, no, Doc's up.
Changing the order up. Sorry about that.
No, sir, they come after you.
I gotcha.
Like you them ready, like you are.
Appreciate it. Well, good morning, everybody, and on behalf of MIMS, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I want to thank you, thank all the volunteers for everything that they do day in and day out to help save patient lives. I know that a lot of times we forget to say that, and we can't say thank you enough. And thank you to Mark for bringing down the reports that you should all have. So I wanted to first talk about what Dr. Delbridge and I and the regional coordinators have been doing. Every 5 years, we travel the state to re-verify that each EMS operation program is in compliance with COMAR. So we've been doing that. That's been keeping us busy. There are the 24 counties and then the few independent cities. So we've definitely been busy. And during those re-verification visits, if it's not been offered, we've asked in each county how the liaison works with the volunteers within that county as well. And while everybody has a little bit of a different strategy for how they communicate, we've tried to make sure in each of these county visits that remains a point of emphasis, that the communication between career and volunteer remains robust and remains strong. We should have that wrapped up this week and then presenting that to the EMS board. And so far, all the counties, I'm pleased to report, have been doing very well. So, EMT renewal, I know Dr. Delbridge and the SEMSAC and the EMS board have reviewed the EMT renewal package. What we're endeavoring to do next year will not change the total number of hours that EMTs require for renewal. What it will do, though, is customize it a little bit more so that EMTs are receiving more timely education, more along the lines of what we do with paramedic. So what we'll be doing, and obviously I want to thank MIFRI and thank many of you for helping us with this review. What we're looking to do is trim just a little bit of the hours required for in-person skills verification, taking that down from 12 to 9, and adding back a little bit more education, particularly in some of the areas where we've seen that we have opportunity for improvement, pediatrics, obstetrics, and a couple of other areas. So that is anticipated to launch. It's a regulatory change. It's anticipated to launch and take effect for people who recertify after July of 2025, July 31st of 2025. Also on the EMT side, we have a couple of regulatory amendments that are sort of in process right now. One of which is the psychomotor testing requirement. If a student or a candidate is unsuccessful currently with the in-person EMT psychomotor testing, they get 3 attempts. So, and after the 3rd attempt, they're actually required to take EMT over again. We thought that while that doesn't happen too often, luckily, we thought that really didn't make any sense, and we do have a lot of candidates who, perhaps could use some focused remediation. So after that 3rd failure point, we'll require just focused remediation on the skills that the candidate is not successful with, and keeping in line with National Registry with their written exam, we'll actually move to a total of 6 attempts overall before the candidate would have to retake EMT. So they'll get 6 shots at the EMT, the National Registry exam. They'll get 6 shots or 6 attempts at our exam as well, the psychomotor skills-based exam. So that is a pending regulatory change as well. Also at several of the meetings recently, we've discussed, and I know Chairman Smothers from the SEMSAC will probably add a little bit more detail to this, and we've discussed this at MSFA EMS Committee, also at the State EMS Advisory Committee. What's called EMS Compact. The EMS Compact is essentially a way for EMTs and paramedics to be able to practice and move between states in a little bit more of a fluid fashion. What some describe it as is similar to what we do with a driver's license. So if we drive through Delaware or Virginia, we don't have to stop at the border and get a new driver's license. Everybody knows that would be pretty cumbersome for all of us to have to deal with. EMS Compact is a way for EMTs and paramedics to practice in other states without being licensed in that state. So that license that they would have in another EMS compact state would allow them the privilege to practice in Maryland and vice versa. Throughout the meetings, we've highlighted some advantages but several challenges. And again, Chairman Smothers can add to this, but I think that at all the meetings that I've attended, there's probably, it's fair to say, a little more concern about EMS compact and sort of the secondary consequences than there is benefit or perceived benefit for Maryland. One of the reasons the topic is coming up is that we're surrounded by EMS compact states at this point. So Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, and Delaware are all in the EMS compact. And certainly we don't have to cave to peer pressure. We certainly are under no requirement to do this. But what EMS compact requires is the passage of model legislation into law, into statute. And so I know Dr. Delbridge and the partners meeting, this has been a point of discussion. And again, I believe for right now, the guidance that I've heard from all of the meetings is that we would not want to move forward with EMS compact. At least that's been the prevailing opinion. So I'm certainly, I know that's a big topic. I'm certainly open to any questions, and I know Eric will probably have some to add. I want to close my formal report on on the clinical note, which those of you who know me, that's what I spend my time doing. I wanted to highlight that in addition to state police, we also have 2 ground EMS agencies that have fully rolled out low titer O positive whole blood, both Montgomery and Howard. And there are 2 other jurisdictions, ground jurisdictions, that are actively working towards it, Frederick and Washington counties. So I think that's great news, and as you heard from Sergeant Larson, that's a tremendous step for our system in the right direction. We've seen some really incredible outcomes, not only with trauma, but with medical patients who are hemorrhaging with GI bleeds and so forth. It's really some tremendous stories of lives saved. On another note, we'll also be adding, or proposing to add, I should say, 2 additional medications into the protocol, both of which are generic and one is labetalol. We have a pretty large problem with patients who are pregnant and the mortality rate in pregnant patients, particularly with not detecting hypertensive crisis or hypertensive emergency. And so labetalol would help us recognize that hypertension and treat it earlier. And the other one is a medication, an antibiotic for patients that we see with open fractures. So this would be the first antibiotic, if approved by the SEMSAC and the EMS board, that we would put into the field. And this is based on some national data as well as data from neighboring states that says that we can markedly reduce the time, or the risk of bone infection, I should say, with a shorter time to antibiotics and getting those antibiotics on board. So I'm going to stop there, but I just want to, hopefully from my report, you've kind of picked up on the fact that we are really pushing the Maryland EMS system forward. We're aiming to push the system forward together. And I want to thank all of you for everything that you do. Wish you happy holidays and happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Eric, is there anything you want to add on there, or you going to wait for your report?
No, I think I'll wait and do the EMS compact and get into that, because that's probably going to have a little discussion to it. So we can
Okay. We'll do that on Monday then.
On Monday?
No. We can do that part now if you want. While I'm sitting here, we just get it off the table. So the EMS compact, there's 26 states that currently, give or take, currently do that. So it spawned out of COVID, and a lot of it was really geared toward the nurses to allow them to move from state to state to function, because there was a need there. So it didn't matter which state you were licensed in, you could go from state to state to state. As long as you had a license, you could move to a driver's license. The issue with that is multiple for us. One, Maryland is fairly easy to get a reciprocity with. So some of the questions came from our military men and women. When they moved into state, they had a National Registry card. So Maryland's fairly easy to make that happen. So some card, verify it, you get certification, take a protocol exam, pretty much good to go. With this compact, you can come from any state, you have your EMT card, you have your paramedic card. The problem with that is you don't know what you always get because we don't know that individual has had complications or issues that we can't see behind the scenes with a provider like that, that allows folks to kind of move around when they're not doing clinical care. So that's problematic for us as clinicians out in the field. So we didn't think that we needed to do that. Also keep in mind that Maryland borders multiple states, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Delaware, District of Columbia, Virginia. We run mutual aid every day from Maryland to all those states, which are EMT card that you currently have. That's not a problem because we have mutual aid agreements with those individuals. It also allows us, doing a MEMAC request, to be able to spool people up that we can verify that they've had a background check, that they meet Maryland certification, and they can move autonomously across the U.S. or wherever they need to go for that MEMAC request. We already have that in place. We, the EMS committee, from MSFA and several other counties, that as this has gone out and discussed, don't feel that there is a need for that to happen here, because we make it easy for folks to transition with a current card, regardless of which state you're in, to transition into Maryland. It also allows the medical directors to be able to put eyes on that person that's requiring certification here, that we can see what's going on before we certify somebody. So for us, we don't really see the benefit. So some of this was at the request of the legislative body to Dr. Delabridge to look into this to see if we wanted to move in that direction. We had lengthy discussion at our last EMS committee meeting, and for us, our recommendation for the EMS committee was not to allow that to happen because of the issues. So I think we have a pretty robust transition for providers that want to be certified here in Maryland. It would also mean that basically if you came from, let's pick a state, let's say Kansas City, Kansas, come to Maryland, they could be a provider, work on their Kansas state EMT card. We would never ever see that person go through any kind of recertification phase, certification phase, because they would be licensed in Kansas, and we would never ever see that person because their license is in Kansas, but they're functioning here in Maryland. So that's what we would wind up seeing. We don't think that's a good mix to be able to do that. They need to go through our research certification cycle and get adjusted to what Maryland does, and not function what they're doing in Kansas or Indiana or Illinois or wherever state. Just pick a state out of these 26. We don't think it's beneficial for us to do that. So the EMS committee's recommendation to the executive board would be not to accept us entering into an EMS compact. And I'll answer any questions while Doc is here. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and that's what was disseminated to SEMSAC as well. And in January, we'll go back and revisit that.
Yeah, and Eric, or Mr. Chairman, if I may, that's where the driver's license analogy sort of falls apart, right? We all agree if we're driving through a state, it's sort of silly to be licensed in all these different states. But when you move to a state, at some point, you get a new address, you get a new license, you do whatever you have to do. You put tags on the car at some point. So that's sort of where that driver's license analogy falls apart with somebody that's picking up and moving their life to Maryland.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take the recommendation that past President Smothers just put forward, and that the MSFA's official position is that we do not support or see the need for EMS compact here in Maryland at this time.
You make that a motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, second by Chip Jewell. Any discussion?
National Registry, once you're national certified. With the National Registry card, the reason why you had to get your National Registry certification is because of the testing component. We don't have the ability to do the written testing here. You can take your National Registry card as a certification card and your Maryland card and go to any state. What the compact does is allow you to come here and function, but what we don't see is the recertification period behind that. If I went out of state, I can get wherever, if I'm a member of a National Register or have a card and have a Maryland card, that state can accept my certification. That's what it allows me to do without me having to go back through a paramedic curriculum. So if I didn't have that card, I would have to go back to whatever state and go through their paramedic curriculum, presumably. We don't, and Maryland's the same way. If you come here with your card, we verify that you have that. It's an easy certification process. You don't have to go back to a whole class. The compact basically says, I'm coming to Maryland, I'm going to live in Maryland, I'm going to have my Virginia card or wherever card, and I never ever have to go through a Maryland recertification cycle. You never see that individual. That's the part that we don't like with that. So, and if you're a bad EMT or a bad clinician in Kansas, we never see that because you're not part of our system. That's what we're trying to stop here.
Well, this is the first I've heard of it. I respect the fact of the motion being made and seconded, but I would like to have some more information so I can make an educated decision whether to support it or not. Because EMT has been a huge issue for a long time. These small departments, rural departments, depend on people. If somebody's going to come from Kansas and say, I want to help the Allegheny Fire Department, I would take that person because they have a certification. Now, I support our Maryland system. It is the best in the world. And we're very proud of everything that we do as EMTs and paramedics. I just have a hard time understanding that we have a program that's supposed to national register, and now we're not going to accept somebody from the outside.
I guess one piece to keep in mind is that, and I hear you loud and clear, is I guess a couple of things. One is that the door can definitely swing both ways. And what we saw with nursing, frankly, was we saw a wage war, and a lot of our nurses during the height of COVID went to other states that were paying lucrative short-term contracts. So I don't have the data and statistics, but on the nursing side, we probably had net losses due to Maryland being in the nursing compact. So the door can definitely swing both ways. The other piece, I guess, that Eric was highlighting is that the National Registry EMT is now accepted by 50 states for initial certification, just like Maryland does. What we can't control is what the other states do with recertification. So they may choose to do a very watered down or a very robust version of recertification. We wouldn't know. The other piece that we didn't explicitly talk about that would be required as part of the compact is an FBI level background check, not only on the people coming into the state, but our own people, that not going backwards, but moving forward. I don't believe that's overly expensive. I don't want to quote anybody on it. We'd have to find a way to probably fund that for the departments that aren't doing that already. And then Eric, I believe we had some more literature Mark brought to the EMS committee meeting that might be helpful at addressing.
Yeah, so I mean, there's an online where you can go and look at some basic information about the compact. The other part, as Dr. Chesmar was saying, is the background check. We have some departments that can't afford to do that right now. So who's going to pick that bill up and pay for that? So, you know, we need to address that in-house with our own folks, and we don't have that. So you accept that person, and now you got to pay for that background check, however much that cost is. So we hadn't fixed that here in Maryland yet for everybody. Not every jurisdiction's doing that, even though as much as we said, you bring somebody in, you need to do a background check because you never know what you're going to get, you know. Somebody's got something in their criminal background, criminal history, and you accept them in, that's on you. So it's got some pluses and minuses, but right now it's more on the minus category from what we're seeing because we make it so easy for someone to be accepted here.
Chip, along with Buddy's question, do we have any information, Del Mar or companies that are literally on the line where they have people, you know, less than a mile away, but they're in another state that may be EMT in the area, but it literally could provide, I mean, is it Allegheny? I mean, you're on the line right there in Brunswick.
Well, I think most of the information that we got was from some of our partners in Pennsylvania, and they thought that was a hot mess to be able to do that with the compact. It was easy. It's easier for the neighboring borders, the way we function here, to be part of the mutual aid to get people where they need to be, and especially for commercial entities. So we don't just look at the 911 service. Commercial entities, when they enter into that, it's problematic for those folks as well to bring some of these folks that are part of a compact where, yeah, I got a card, but there's no way for them to verify how good a clinician they were, what you did at your last recertification site. Keep it not, you know. So it's got some issues that I think that we don't want to tackle, in our opinion. I'll say the committee's opinion, and we kind of talked through a lot of these. So we do very good with our mutual aid here. So, and every day.
And I 100% agree. I mean, you know, Frederick County is a prime example. We run mutual aid, 8 counties in 3 states every day. But the specific question was, have you had any input from Delmar, Williamsport, Hancock, the ones that may have people, even Emmitsburg, you know, a mile up the line, that move into the area and want to join? I mean, I'm sure they've joined now, but is that going to be a problem? Have we had input from any of these volunteer companies?
I guess I'd defer to Eric on that if we've had any. I'm not aware of any. I do know the situation at Delmar, actually, because I just wrote a letter for them the other day. At least from my understanding, Wicomico County considers Delmar as part of their county, even though they're physically 2 blocks into Delaware. So the longstanding tradition has been for them to be licensed as Delaware EMTs and Maryland paramedics, which is a little bit of an oddity. I'm more familiar with Delta Cardiff, which is on the state line, where I believe many years ago they went over to being Pennsylvania licensed because they're in Pennsylvania, and there are no issues at all with mutual aid. I guess, to be honest, Maryland would not require Delmar's medics to be Maryland licensed. We would gladly accept them as mutual aid paramedics coming into Maryland. But I think, I don't want to speak for Wicomico County. I think Wicomico County has that worked out, and we're happy to not kick a hornet's nest if that's what they prefer.
Yeah, and you're right. We have not reached out to, at least what we've asked from SEMSAC is to have the associations go back and talk to their respective counties that have folks that are on those border fringes, to have that discussion. We're not seeing a lot of folks knocking at the door to want to come to Maryland to do that, to be a part of the compact, so there is that. But that question was posed from the legislative leadership in Annapolis, should Maryland be a part of that? And we have to provide them an answer because they're getting ready to go into session. So we're on a very short leash here to make a decision so that we can get information back to the General Assembly whether or not we want to do this.
The more we discuss this, the more confused I get of why we went to National Registry. I mean, I sat right on the border with West Virginia, and I was originally told that if a National Registry EMT came from West Virginia, they would come over. They couldn't ride the back of the ambulance until they took a Maryland protocol test, but they were still functioning as a National Registry EMT from West Virginia. You know, I've got a couple guys that work at a facility that are taking National Registry. Do I have to require them now to get a Maryland EMT card to ride a fire truck? We don't provide EMS. We provide mutual aid to the EMS as a first responder. But do I have to now do that? I'm just, the more this discussion goes, the more confused I'm getting about why we even went in the direction of National Registry if we're if we're now questioning the National Registry's recertification process, their quality of their people and stuff like I'm getting more confused about trying to make an educated decision on how to vote.
Yeah, if I may, on the National Registry front, which obviously predated me by a little bit, I think the initial move was, as Eric said, was to try to get a valid certification exam that we no longer had. And we've taken the stance in Maryland that you don't have to maintain that National Registry at the EMT level if you wish not to do so. But on the side, we've actually encouraged people that want to move or think they may want to move to maintain that National Registry because it makes life easier on them if they think they might want to move between states. At the paramedic level, we've asked that paramedics maintain that. I think to answer your question, and I'm glad you brought it up, on the people moving into Maryland with a National Registry card, we have actually, it was one of the regulations that I meant to mention, I did not. We've actually dropped, in the process of dropping, the protocol test coming into Maryland in favor of an online protocol orientation. So you bring your National Registry card, you're from West Virginia or from further west, and you bring your National Registry card and you say, I want to be licensed in Maryland. If you're a member of a volunteer company, there's no state licensure fee. What we ask you to do is bring that National Registry card and take an online protocol orientation. That's where that's migrating. So we're dropping that, what was called a protocol test or a law test, in favor of something that somebody can do in the comfort of their own home. They're not having to travel to the regional office. And so I think what Eric was trying to say is we've tried here in Maryland, whether you're military or not, whatever the reason is you're moving to Maryland, to try to make this easier as time goes on. The National Registry piece actually allows you some currency such that you probably don't really need the compact unless the state is creating an onerous licensure process for you. So I think that's maybe saying what Eric was saying in another way.
Yeah. I mean,
Sorry. So what you're saying then is they don't have to get a Maryland EMT card. They can do the online, because
They would do the online.
Yeah, their
card,
job's
yeah.
going to require them to keep a National Registry.
Right.
Their okay, so instead of trying to do 2 certifications, again, putting more work on the younger, so they don't.
So to come and work in Maryland as an EMT, they do have to be licensed. All of us have to be licensed.
National Registry.
National Registry would be certification. So there's certification, which is sort of, you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, and then there's licensure, which the state of Maryland says that you're licensed as a health professional, and that binds you to all the Maryland laws and requirements and regulations. And then there's county affiliation, which binds you to whatever rules the county or the local departments have set up. So there's 3 tiers, much like there is in other healthcare professions. The nurses take a national exam, they're licensed by the state, but you can't just be a nurse and go decide you want to work at Atlantic General. You've got to go get credentialed at Atlantic General. So in that analogy, the hospital is the county. They still have a state licensure and they have a national board exam. So the national thing is basically just saying that they have taken and passed a nationally vetted examination. It doesn't confer any license or ability to do anything in any of the 50 states. There's really that 3-tier model throughout healthcare: physicians, nurses, EMTs, paramedics. It transcends all of them.
So if that's how we're functioning now, what would be the advantage of a compact?
The advantage of the compact, if you're arguing for the compact, is that you have particularly work or job mobility, because you would be able to decide. For instance, there is a lucrative contract for a paramedic in Arizona, and I'm single and I want to pick up and move to Arizona and work for 13 weeks and do well, and not have to be licensed in each of the 50 states. And Arizona would have access to your FBI background check, but what they wouldn't have access, I think, is what Eric is saying, is if we had chronic patient care issues with that person, Arizona would be flying blind. They'd just be accepting them as compact says they're okay, and it's sort of caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware as to what you're going to get.
Okay.
Just a couple comments. Initially, This was brought up to our EMS committee. They looked at it, discussed it, and decided it would not be a good thing for Maryland. It was then sent to SIMSAC, who, again, looked at it and basically decided it was unfavorable. Because number one, it would require an individual or a department to pay for the background check, and we have enough issues in our department maybe coming up with funds or to pay for things, to put additional burden on that department to say, okay, now I have to pay for this, or the individual member. And number two, as has been brought up before, as an individual comes to us from Texas, he or she would be operating under Texas guidelines. They would not have to meet Maryland guidelines. So whatever we do here in Maryland, we cannot make that paramedic do, pretty much. He would be operating under, he or she would be operating on what Texas allows him or her to do. So that was another concern about what Maryland standards, as we all agree, is number one in the United States. We could be lessening the effectiveness, lessening the quality of care that we give our communities by allowing an individual to come in from Texas. So those are my concerns about what is going on with the compact. Would it be great to have extra clinicians? Absolutely. Would it be best thing to do, and we try to do that, is to make it easier for people to volunteer for us. But again, I think we're fortunate in Maryland with the mutual aid agreements we have, with the departments that run into Delaware, Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia on a regular basis, and those departments that come into our communities to help us out. We have the knowledge of what those individuals are capable of doing. We know what their systems are, and we're comfortable allowing them to come into us and take care of our community, as well as they know what Maryland has. They're comfortable allowing us to go over there. But again, if this panel feels that the vote needs to be put off, I certainly will withdraw the motion for further consideration. But again, I was basing my motion on the recommendation from the EMS committee and the SIMSAC, who again, we have representation on from the MSFA. So again, I was taking those individuals who would look out for us as an organization by serving on those committees, that they had looked into it and they were making these recommendations come back. Again, as past President Smothers put out, the question came out of Annapolis, and you know as well as I do, we try to satisfy any questions either in our own departments and or the state when it comes out of some type of government entity, because again, they're the ones that are going to possibly do something in Annapolis that's going to affect me and Carroll as well as Allegheny and Garrett County. Even though we're two different systems and we have our own uniqueness, once it's passed in Annapolis, it's going to affect all of us. So the goal was, through the EMS committee, SIMSAC, and other individuals, was to get updated, correct information in the hands of the individuals who are going to be voting or possibly making state law in the very near future. But again, out of respect to my colleagues, members of this board, I have no problem rescinding my motion until such time as they feel that it could be voted on. Mr. Chairman?
Okay, we'll have any more questions? We do have a motion and a second on the floor, but, you know, buddy, not just single you out, I mean, you know, if we feel we need more time on this, as Mark said, he would withdraw his motion and we can take it up, you know, either on a special meeting or.
Well, we're going to need an answer, I believe, before the end of the legislative session. So our next meeting is February? Yeah.
So, Buddy.
Good.
Well, I'm hearing a couple different things. One, I cannot believe this day and age we are not all doing background checks. I think every county's been doing background checks. We are, that's where we are today in the world.
Yep.
But we're talking about an FBI background check. I don't know what level your department does, but there's a cost difference between a local background check and an FBI background check that would have to be paid for by somebody.
That's next level. I mean, most people are probably doing Maryland case search or doing something local. I mean, you know, every county does something different, but, you know, I mean, we are making it easier for providers, clinicians, when they come to Maryland to get certified. Again, when we talk about the National Registry, that's the litmus test across the United States, is the EMT exam or the paramedic exam. That's what everybody's base certification is. It says, I'm qualified, I can function. But if I go to Pennsylvania or if I go over to Virginia, depending on which county you're in, their protocols in each county is different. So you bring that person from another state that doesn't know what we do here, they're functioning at whatever they've learned out of state. We're just trying to make it so that everybody's on the same page. We know that the person that we're getting is a competent clinician. That's what we really are after, and that there are nothing in their backgrounds that would preclude them from functioning here. With the compact, you don't know that, other than the fact that, yeah, they passed a FBI background check, but I don't know anything about that person's clinical skills. We don't have access to that. We don't know if they've had issues at the EMS board level. In Maryland, we do. But the fact that you recertify in your outside state, we would never, ever see that. Yep, you're riding on my ambulance from Garrett County, and I'm still certified in Kansas City, but I don't know what you've done for your recertification cycle. I don't know if you've had issues in the state of Kansas, because I don't have access to that. But yet I got a provider that's functioning. So that then becomes the onus of the department that brings that individual in, that now you're responsible for. So if something untoward happens, that's on you. We're just trying to cut that off before we have that issue. And with mutual aid, we know that when you come across the line, the state's recognizing, saying that you're certified, you're competent, you've passed all of your proficiencies, and you're good to go. We know that. They're not going to know that.
I agree with all the points, and personally, I support what the motion would be. However, I think for us to try to rush it through for legislation coming in 3 weeks, I think the answer just simply needs to be, if we can't make a decision in February, which I think it's in the middle of legislation, and as Dale just pointed out, we can have a special meeting.
That's fine.
I think it's an obligation of each of us to contact the Williamsports, the Harneys, the Line Boroughs, the Delmars, those companies that are right on that line, get a little bit of input locally, and then make an informed decision. That's my biggest concern, is those companies that, and I don't know. I don't know if Line Borough has people that are Pennsylvania EMTs or put on our ambulances and don't know it. I don't know what those border companies are or are not doing, but I think we are obligated to get their input and then make a final decision.
Rescind your motion, I'm fine, but
Gina,
this is the information
you brought this
that
stuff
you're gonna
up in Frederick County Association meeting, correct?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, we did. It was brought up in Frederick County. Sorry. Yeah, it was brought up in Frederick County at our association meeting along with the executive committee, and the executive committee of Frederick County voted against it. So that was discussed. It was a pretty lengthy discussion that night. Eric was present. It was a pretty lengthy discussion. We answered a lot of questions, and at that time, it was decided no, because of the situations that we've discussed. I think where there's getting some confusion is, and I think they've tried to kind of disassociate the two, is that what people don't understand is that we used to have the consortium that provided the testing. And that's why we went to the National Registry testing initially, is because that consortium broke up. So the National Registry testing, I think we're getting in the weeds with that's where the problem, I think, is lying with this discussion. We're not talking about registry. We're setting the initial certification aside. That's separate and aside from this. The problem is that we're now having to rely, like they've discussed, with somebody who's maintaining a background, and we can't check that. Whereas the way it was explained in our meeting at the state level was that if somebody were to end up in medical review at the state level, we could search that, absolutely.
But if it's a county level issue, we have issues in Frederick County that probably don't make it up to the state because they're not something that warrants state involvement necessarily, but it's a continuous problem. So that's where I think that we're not understanding this compact piece, is that we're not going to get the full picture of the person because we're not going to know if they're late on reports. We're not going to know if they're not submitting reports properly. We're not going to know if they have an issue with medications where maybe it's not so much that it's, again, something that needs to be brought to a state level that gets addressed, but it's something that they've had an ongoing issue with and it's been taken care of at a county level, a low-level area where we're not really focusing on the big picture, where we're only going to hear about it if it makes it up to the state level and it goes to their medical review. So I think that that's where the biggest problem is, that we can't, how do we search this person and how do we find out who they are? You do a background check on someone if you hire them. I would assume that as your corporation level, you do a background check on them to some degree. This kind of steps up the background check, I think, to something that people aren't going to be used to, and it's going to be a very lengthy process and very expensive. I think that where I stand with it personally, I'm against it. And after reading about it and hearing about it and discussing it at the county level as well, I'm against it personally. I think that it just muddies the waters too much. I think that we do have a good system in place as it stands now, and I think that we're just fine with how we're doing business, and I think that this just adds a level. The other piece to this that I don't think is being comprehended is that the legislative piece has to be passed as is, as it stands. There's no deviation from it. So if Maryland gets down there and they say in Annapolis, we don't like the way that this is worded, they can't change it either as a yes or a no, period. End of discussion. So there's no changing it, there's no adding words, there's no taking anything away from that.
And after the EMS committee meeting, I presented the information that was handed out on the compact to both Howard County and Carroll County at their association meeting. I know that meetings may or may not be attended by everybody in the state, and everyone may or may not have representation, and that the information should have or would have been distributed appropriately. But again, my original statement, and we continue to have conversation, which is good, but again, if this body tells me, I will withdraw the motion and we can vote on it at a later date if that's what they choose to.
Okay. We'll call for any more questions. All right. Do have a motion on the floor to support the Sims Act and be against the compact. All in favor of them?
If you want me to withdraw this motion,
will withdraw it. He has
let me
not
know.
withdrawn it yet.
If you want me to withdraw the motion, let's say yes.
Somebody said yes, he wants it withdrawn? Okay, motion's been withdrawn, done. Get us some more information, we'll pass it out, and we can have a Zoom meeting or a conference call meeting, either way. Thank you.
In particular,
Thank you,
those
Dr.
specific companies that Frederick's, I've heard of, I know what Frederick's going, but I'm concerned about the ones that are far-reaching, right on the line, just to make sure. I totally agree that we shouldn't support it, but I want to make sure we're not having an adverse effect. I mean, we've already heard the good doctor say, have a borderline situation in Del Mar anyway. So do we have the same situation up in other counties? So that's my only concern, is that we have the input from those companies before we make an informed decision.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think I won't be invited back. I've prolonged the discussion too much.
You'll be back.
Right, Steve?
We'll not see you in February.
You send Dr. D next time. Shock trauma. Becky, you're up. And then Ken Bush, you should be on deck. Then we're going for lunch.
Did you bring any backboards with you?
No, but we do have a buy one, get one free. If you drop us a patient, we'll give you a backboard. Good morning, everybody, and happy Christmas to everybody. I did submit my report electronically, so hopefully you have a copy of that in front of you. Just go over the highlight of it for you. I know lunch is sitting there already. So our volume So far this financial year, we have admitted 1,597 patients. That puts us a little bit behind where we were at this stage last year, but most likely that will pick up as we move through the year. Length of stay, we've been doing a lot of work on our length of stay, and we have managed to reduce our length of stay by 3.62 days, which is quite significant. We have a lot of different things that we're doing for this. We have our discharge by noon. We're also looking at how our opening of extra operating rooms has actually helped this. So we're able to get patients to the operating room a little quicker. The quicker you can get them in, the quicker you can get them out. So a lot of work being done on length of stay at the minute. They've included the demographics. You can see that 41% of our patients are in the over 56 age group. So we do know that a lot of our patients do fall into that, what we term elderly group. If you're over 65, unfortunately, you're considered to be elderly. So a lot of work being done on that also. We're beginning to look at different protocols that we're going to be using for our elderly population. So more to come on that. Mechanism of injury. 39% is MVCs and 38% of falls. The MVC group, that includes anything motor vehicle related, so that's everything is lumped into there. So you can see where we're admitting most of our patients. Most of those falls patients are the elderly people that we're seeing also. Inter-hospital transfers, we have had 14.5% of our transfers from trauma center, but 85.5% from non-trauma centers. 174 of those have come to us by air, and then 448 of them have come by land. So we have a little bit of a reduction in our transfers from last year. Our lost inter-hospital transfers. So we have so far this year lost 57 transfers from other hospitals. So we review every single one of those and we see why we're doing it. Oftentimes we find that while they're consulting us, they also consult somebody else at the same time. So if anybody else has a bed that's available sooner, then the patients will go there. That does not include our transfers from other trauma centers. They take priority and they come immediately. Capacity hours, you can see that we've done a lot of work on capacity hours also. Below the state threshold, and the last we've had very little time capacity, which is what we're aiming to do. Also of note, please remember that when we are on capacity, it does not mean we're closed. On capacity means we triage every single patient that gets called into us.
We need everybody in the room to pay attention or go outside if you want to talk. It's hard hearing our speakers. Thank you. Go ahead.
So on capacity means we triage every single patient that gets called into us, and then the sickest patients will still come to us regardless of whether we're on capacity or not. Our GO team. We have had 2 activations and 1 deployment from our GO team. The deployment was for Prince George's County on a patient that had an impaled limb. That patient was transported to shock trauma with the GO team after they were extricated. A lot of work done on our Center for Injury Prevention and Policy. We've had 131 events in the first quarter, 2,521 participants, and we have impacted 11 counties. So a massive amount of work being done on our injury prevention. For our Stop the Bleed, we have taught 81 courses and touched 1,416 participants. Again, that's a big increase on where we were this time last year. Our Stop the Bleed curriculum in high schools. We have been able to provide 109 bleeding stations. We've provided 150 training limbs, and we have educated over 227 health educators and school nurses. So we are impacting all Baltimore County high schools, all Howard County high schools, and we're also in the process of initiating County, Harford County, and Baltimore City high schools. We hope to have that all up and running very shortly. For our EMS training and outreach, we've had 13 trainings and had 232 participants. That includes simulation, skills labs, EMS trainings, wilderness trainings, a whole load of stuff going on there. Shock trauma EMS education, we have had 1 EMS broadcast and 2 GO team trainings. The GO team is always available to come out to any of your stations and do an education for you. Just reach out to us at any time for that. We also have our next broadcast, which is upcoming on December the 19th at 6 p.m. It's called On the Fence. It's pre-hospital clinicians and in-hospital care team going to be discussing the care of a patient that was brought to us who was impaled by a piece of fence. Observer program, still going also. We've had 6 EMS observers and 13 international observers from 6 different countries in the first quarter. Looking ahead, our goals continue to be to improve trauma center capacity and throughput, expansion of wraparound services for victims of violence. So this is happening in our clinic where we're offering like a multifaceted approach down there. We're including social work, we have violence prevention, aiming to reduce on our readmissions and recidivism on that. And then further statewide Stop the Bleed outreach is also going on. We're hoping to get into more schools, just reaching out the whole state. Anybody who wants to partner with us on that, but also looking for partners. We have partnered with quite a lot of firehouses, so anybody else that would like to participate, please let us know. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Mark.
I have a question. Just comment. I want to congratulate you and your group for all the outreach that you're doing, particularly in the schools. We all know that there's stuff that should be being taught in school, and for whatever reason it may or may not be done. So it's good that they're willing to reach out with you, and it's good that you're able to provide that service not only to the state, but again, particularly in the schools where it's much needed. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Something to just add to that, Mark, because sitting on the Shock Trauma Board of Visitors, you know, Baltimore County is probably going to be one of the first ones that actually have Stop the Bleed countywide in all their public schools. And the goal is really to do that statewide. So for us here as an executive board, we really need to go back to our counties and see if we can't get CPR and Stop the Bleed reintroduced back into the school system. Now, what you'll hear, we can't do that because the way the curriculums are set up. But you know, I know when I went to school, you had to have CPR and a little bit of first aid before you graduated. So that's something that I think even for MSFA that maybe we can talk to our legislators about and from our educational standpoint, based on what we see around the United States now, that these are life skills. This is what's going to save somebody's life. The more people that know CPR, it could just be hands-only CPR, but we need to look at putting those initiatives, reintroducing them back into the school system. I know it's your wife's fault. She taught me. She was a school teacher, so so that's one. And then the other part is, you know, please go back to the jurisdictions. When you go to the trauma center, pick up your stuff. I can tell you, Frederick County, Gina and I, just in Frederick County, we picked up Frederick County, Washington County, and the folks that were surrounding from out of Pennsylvania and up in Garrett County from a couple West Virginia units that Trooper 5 flew in. Look in each one of your lockers down there, because otherwise the homeless folks are going to take your stuff and it's going to wind up being in a tent city somewhere, or it's going to be thrown away. I mean, literally, we had a full pickup truck with a cap on, loaded full. The back seat of a King Cab pickup truck was loaded full of head blocks and straps and stuff. So if you want your stuff, 2 things have got to happen. One, you got to send somebody down, you know, at least once a quarter or once a month to go get your stuff. And 2, you need to mark it with your department's name on it. So if it didn't have your department name on it, Lord knows where your backboard or your kids or wherever it winds up. If it doesn't have a name on it, somebody's probably riding around, somebody already remarked it. Thank you very much for your donation. So, and we saw some of that. But you need to go into each locker and make sure your stuff is there. And if it doesn't matter, somebody takes a daily run from your department, go pick your stuff up and then drop it off at a local spot. I mean, we brought ours back to logistics so it get redistributed or take it back to a hospital. Otherwise, they're going to throw it away. I mean, literally, the lockers were running over. So please go back to your jurisdictions and tell them to go pick up your stuff if you want it.
Thank you.
Pretty expensive stuff.
Any other questions or comment? Thank you. Merry Christmas to you. Office of the State Fire Marshal, Kenny Bush, giving their report. Then we're going to do 50-50. Then Mr. Chaplain will be ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to pick a mic here that works to make sure the president can hear me loud and clear. There's a tendency to nod off sometimes, I understand that. In any event, Ken Bush reporting on behalf of Acting State Fire Marshal Jason Mowbray. And no, that doesn't make me the acting State Fire Marshal. That's one title I do not wish to add to my list. But in any event, I did provide written copies of the Fire Marshal's report to everyone this morning. And if you need any more, I have more to hand out. Just to point out a couple of the highlights as a part of that report. On page 2, talking about the fire fatalities, you'll see the list of fire deaths that have been reported for both 2024 and 2023 as comparison. There are some ones that need to be added to that list, unfortunately. If you've been watching the news the past couple of days, you've realized that we have a couple that we need to add to that list. But make sure that you bear that in mind, that we have to base our list on what's been confirmed. And as the paragraph indicates near the bottom of that page, so as we did this report, so far in calendar year 2024, there have been 46 confirmed fatalities associated with fires in residential structure, 8 associated with vehicle fires, and 4 in other settings. So there's a total of 58 confirmed fatalities across the state as of this report. As you can see, there's a website that you can go to at the bottom of that page for more information if you need that. Next page, there are some statistics that we can provide that the work's being done by the State Fire Marshal's Office. If you look at some of the comparisons over the years, you can see that work has been increasing. We attribute that to our dedicated staff that make sure that we keep ahead of the issues here. As you go through the list, you can see the items that we've been addressing with fire investigations, explosive investigations, with code enforcement, plan review activities, and community risk reduction. So that is all laid out as a part of that table for you. There's a list of significant incidents that you can see in the next couple pages, and I can let you read through those in their entirety. However, there's one on page 4 that I'd like to point out. At the top of that page, where we have saves as a part of our community risk reduction initiatives, where 2 families are safe thanks to the smoke alarms which have been installed in partnership through the local fire departments and the State Fire Marshal's Office. So that is good news that the work we're doing out there for preventative measures is working, and this kind of points that out, is that there have been successes. The only problem we have seen, excuse me, is that there are probably many more of these successes we don't even realize. When people have somewhat insignificant fires that they are alerted to through the fine work that's being done by the local fire departments and fire authorities that we don't even understand because they're not even reported to us. So, but these are 2 that we do know about, and we'd like to make sure that that is publicized whenever we get the chance to do that. On the next page are some personnel issues that you might want to take a look at. Excuse me, the one I want to point out is for Deputy Chief State Fire Marshal Karen McMahon, who commands the Upper Eastern Regional Office in Easton. Just recently graduated from an intensive 3-week leadership academy provided by the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. So we want to congratulate her on those efforts as well. On the bottom of that page, we're talking about some community outreach efforts that have been taking place by the State Fire Marshal's personnel. And I'll let you read through that list, and there's some pictures that go through in the next couple of pages which address those particular outreach efforts. As we skip over to page 10, we've covered, I think, the issues about the fire incident reporting systems and the reports that are lacking for us, as far in addition, as well as our participation that's anticipated for the new NERA system. So that information is provided on page 10. And at the, page 11, you can see information there about the Maryland Fire and Life Safety Information Exchange Program. The website's listed with the blog listed as well. So I invite you all to take part of that and take a look at that as part of the information that's available. Excuse me. And before I close out, there is another piece of information I'd like to cover. with regards even to the Standards Committee, and unfortunately, I won't be able to be here to be a part of that report later, but there's an effort that's being introduced, excuse me, about allowing buildings, residential buildings, particular apartments, to be built of 6 stories with a single stair as a means of egress. And in that case, the fire service has taken a very strong interest in that effort, because obviously there are complications when it comes down to single exits about getting people out, but as far as the operations in the fire service. As far as the Standards Association is concerned, recently, the International Code Council has considered that and has modified that down to 4 stories. So there is an effort there in order to indeed try to modify those effects, and I wanted to make everyone aware of that. We're going to work closely with Chief Phillips. There's some partnering states which have had this as an issue, and we're going to keep a close eye on that as the legislature convenes to make sure that those safety standards are maintained. So with that, it concludes my report. I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday season, keep it safe, and hope that you enjoy with your families and friends. So with that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting Fire Marshal. Go ahead, Ron. See, I was paying attention.
One thing on page 10, 11 that acting Deputy Fire Marshal glanced over was his receiving a very prestigious award. And I think we want to congratulate him on that, because that was something that recognized Mr. Bush for many, many years of service and his dedication to the fire service, and I think we should recognize that and congratulate him for that. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Here comes the sidekick, gave you something to drink. Thank you, Kenny. Have a Merry Christmas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'd like to do the 50-50 drawing, and then we're going to have the chaplain.
The winner gets $180. Number is 344-7472. Oh,
There you go.
Robin Shore. Thank you.
Robin Shore.
Please join me in prayer. Almighty God, as we take this time now to break bread together, Father, we ask you to bless this food and nourish our bodies and bless those who have prepared it. We ask this all in your Son's name. Amen.
Okay, we're going to break for lunch. We'll start back at 1 p.m.